Hey guys, I'm not going to be there this morning, obviously. I have a doctor's appointment and I forgot to tell you about it yesterday, so sorry about that. But I wanted to just kind of review what you're going to be doing today while I'm not there so that you are clear on that. Today in Google Classroom, there is a document posted called Figurative Language, Carl Sandburg Poem. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to open this document up and there is a poem here. It's called Sketch, and it's by Carl Sandburg. So I want you to read this poem. As you can see, it's a pretty short text. Okay. What I said here, if there are words you don't know, you need to Google their definition to help you understand the poem. So kind of skim it really quick before you read it, if you would please. And I want you to look up any words you don't know. So I'm thinking one word that a lot of you probably don't know is luster. What does that mean? If you don't know, you need to Google the definition of it so that you're familiar with what that means, so that when it comes time to understand the text, you're able to better do so because you understand what the word means. Some of you may not know what span means. So anyway, I want you to look through the text, and I'd like you to look up, the first step is to just look up words you don't know to help you understand the poem, okay? The second thing that you're going to do is you're going to come down here after you've read the poem, and we're looking at figurative language today. So, we've talked a lot about the use of figurative language in poetry, and remember, that's a phase 2 item. So when authors use techniques to convey a message in a poem, we're looking at phase 2, right? And so that's any kind of technique that he or she might use. So in this poem, Carl Sandburg uses a lot of figurative language. So there's examples of personification, of metaphors, of alliteration. There are examples of repetition. There are examples of action. Action would not necessarily be figurative language unless the author used descriptive language to describe the action or imagery or something similar to that. There are examples of imagery in the poem, and then there's examples of mood in the poem. Okay, so you're going to go do today on your own. This is going to be an independent activity, which means your voices are off. If you have questions, you are certainly welcome to ask people at your table. But overall, I'd like you to work on this independently because I want to see where you are in your understanding of what figurative language is and whether or not you can pull it out of a poem. Okay, so I need you to really try to do well on this because it's, again, going to show me what you know and what you don't know and what we need to work on a little bit more in class. Okay, so the first thing I'm gonna do the first one with you. So identify an example of personification. Remember, personification is when you give an inanimate object, which means an object that's not living, human-like qualities. Okay, so we're gonna read through this. Puts an arm of sand in the span of salt. Well, can you really put an arm of sand in the span of salt? No. So you're giving an inanimate object human-like qualities. Okay. So we're going to go down here, and we would explain that line is an example of personification. Okay. Then, so I'm going to say here, the author uses an arm of sand in the span of salt. So this would be my text evidence. So I'm going to pull that. I'm just going to copy it and paste it down here. Remember to always use quotations when we cite text evidence. So there's my text evidence that shows personification. Then I'm not going to answer these questions for you because I want you guys to answer them based on the context of the poem. Okay? So once you've read through the poem, I want you to come down here and I want you to tell me what's being personified. What is the author giving human-like qualities to. Okay. And then explain to me what's being personified. So what is the comparison? What does the author mean by puts an arm of sand in the span of salt? And you're going to have to read the rest of the poem in order to figure that out. You can't figure it out by just this one piece of text evidence. I just wanted to show you kind of what this looks like. So your answer goes here. So the answer to the question, identify an example of personification. That's what we did right here. Explain what's being personified. So here, I'm going to put what's being personified. So answer to the question, what is being personified? So you're basically going to tell me, what is the author giving human-like qualities, right? So you need to tell me that there. So I'm going to erase this. So that's where your answer goes. Your text evidence goes here. And then you're going to explain your thinking down here. So kind of explain to me what this means. So kind of explaining your thinking is like, what does it contribute to the poem overall? What does that personification do for the poem to make it a better poem? So I want you to kind of think about that and explain your thinking. So you're going to answer the question, cite your text evidence, tell me what's being personified. Your answer and what's being personified might be very similar, those two questions, and then explain your thinking. And again, explaining your thinking just tells me basically like, how does that personification add to the poem, add to the meaning of the poem, and what the author is trying to convey in the meaning of the poem. So the figurative language, how does it contribute to the overall meaning of the poem? Okay. Then you're going to do the same thing with metaphors. So you're going to find a metaphor. You're going to tell me what two things are being compared. Again, answer and what two things are being compared, kind of the same in this one. Provide your text evidence to support it. Make sure you use quotations like we did up here. And then explain your thinking. So again, with this one, it's going to be, how does the metaphor or use of metaphors help you understand the meaning of the poem? That's kind of what I want you to do with your explaining your thinking here, okay? How does a metaphor help you understand the meaning of the poem? So you're going to go through all of those questions and do this today, okay? You need to be very, very thorough in your responses. Alliteration. Remember, alliteration is when an author uses the same sound at the beginning of a sentence with multiple words. So Sally sells seashells by the seashore, or Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. So you're going to provide your text evidence. You're going to tell me how the alliteration helps you understand the poem, and then tell me why it's alliteration, okay? And then explain your thinking down here. Again, what does the alliteration do in the poem to help you get to that deeper meaning? Okay. Do the same thing with repetition. Do the same thing with the action. Same thing with imagery. Same thing with mood. Okay. So that's your job today. Get that done in Google Classroom. When you finish, you may do one of four things. Okay. If you remember on my website from class yesterday, except for 7-8 because you weren't there because we went to the funeral procession. But 1, 2, and 5, 6, you probably remember this from yesterday. We worked on these three things. So when I looked at things over the weekend, quite a few of you were missing things, and that was a problem. So today, if you finish the assignment in Google Classroom, you need to spend your time working on these three things I just highlighted. So you've got your Phase 3 writing, for the poem responses from Thursday, or just finish your response from the poems that we read on Thursday. So remember, we had those 6 poems. They're all posted in Google Classroom right here. Okay, and you need to go in and do that. It's going to cut me off in 30 seconds, so I want to wrap it up. Other thing is Novel 6 annotations. You need to get those done, and your Novel 6 response. I was missing that for a lot of you, okay? So those 3 things, if you get done with those 3 things, and you're done with the assignment for today, you can read. Okay? I will see you tomorrow, and I hope that you have a great day.